unauthorized, get outraged, get void.
It's something that you have to respect, and although we certainly are questioning the war, we want to support the troops as much as we can. It's called On the Line, and you can find it on Neil Young's website. It's in the top 20 on his songs. He joined in '68 to bypass the lottery. Sounded foolish then, but the choice was free. It wasn't long before he was upon that plane. This was the real deal, not no war game. His son joined in '03, had no lottery. His uncle told him, be all that you can be. Men and women.
Just what we're fighting for. What I told on Wall Street, little banker, lousy boy. Now this is 2007, and one thing I am sure, this decorated BFN ain't fighting anymore. Go Howard.
Doesn't Cindy in 08 sound good to you? We need a movement that builds in our communities, that builds in our workplaces, that after this demonstration we want to go back to where we live and grab the young sister and brother who's not here today. We want them to be engaged. We want them to be involved. We want to build a movement that's sustaining, that talks about nationalized health care. A movement that talks about ending police brutality. A movement that talks about immigrant rights and papers for all. That talks about finally ending the war and bringing our troops home. Not in 08, but right goddamn now.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful gathering here today. I've been listening to the other speaker. I've been listening to the other speakers. I agree with all of them. Can you hear me? Yeah? We ought to stop talking about timetables for withdrawal. There's only one timetable for withdrawal, and that is to get the troops out as fast as ships and planes can carry them. If somebody invaded your home and smashed things up and terrorized your children, would you give them a timetable? Iraq. The people in Iraq do not want us there. The American people have expressed themselves clearly that the American people don't want us there. It seems the only people who want us there are the members of Congress and the Bush administration. And, you know, we shouldn't have any more non-binding and binding resolutions. You know, this administration feels that everything is non-binding. You know, according to Bush, the 10 Commandments are non-binding. You know, thou shalt not kill is non-binding.
For the region, for building lasting peace, will have unintended consequences. And I don't mean the usual rhetoric about Iraqis killing each other and so on. I mean, Americans owe Iraqis to help repatriate the 2 to 3 million Iraqis who have been forced to leave their homes. Americans owe the Iraqis for the 2 decades of support that they gave to Saddam Hussein. The worst victims of Saddam Hussein were not the Kuwaitis, not the Americans. They were the Iraqis, and they were the people next door in my home country in Iran. We need to make sure that just like the Reagan administration, after it was done driving the Soviets out of Afghanistan, that the Bush administration does not abandon Iraq as soon as it withdraws its troops, because then we'll have a weak state, a failed state like...
To you, Cindy Miller Sheehan.
This man just said Cindy for president. Please don't do that to me. You have to really have a serious screw loose to want to be president, I think. Today also is, or would be, the 76th birthday of Shirley Miller, my mom. My mom passed away on February 10th. She had a stroke in August of 2005 when I was at Camp Casey the first time in Crawford, Texas. And that lady hung on to life with both hands because she was a fighter. But she was actually the first person in our family to speak out against the war and against George Bush. Now more than ever, our country is in the stranglehold grip of the war machine. And we have to stop it now. I see so many precious babies, so many young children. And I have 3 surviving children. And I want them to have children. I want to have grandchildren. I want them to have, like Howard Zinn said, a land that solves its problems with integrity and wisdom and not violence. Yesterday, the Democrats failed us, they failed the troops, and they failed the people of Iraq. They had one chance to stop this war, and that's by holding back, that's by shutting and locking the purse strings, by taking the money away from that maniac in the White House. But you know what? From now on, from yesterday forward, it is a democratic war. They could have stopped it, and they didn't. From this day forward, every innocent Iraqi that dies, every soldier that dies, the blood is on the hands of the Democratic leadership and the Democrats who voted to continue this. But what we can do is, first of all, quit giving our children to them to kill. And secondly, something that I am doing, and I encourage everybody in America to do this, because if we all did it, they couldn't get all of us. When Nancy Pelosi handed George Bush $93 billion yesterday to continue the killing and to maybe invade Iran, you know, George Bush can use that money to invade Iran because the Democratic leadership took out the language that would have forced him to come back to them for approval. Well, you know what? It's not in the Constitution for Congress to hand over their power to declare war. They're the ones that have to declare war. But they handed it over to George Bush so he can invade Iran if he wants to. But when Nancy Pelosi gave him $93 billion more, I said not one penny of that is coming from Cindy Sheehan. I am not paying my taxes to the war machine. Everybody here needs to withdraw your money from the war machine. I heard there were 3 people here who were counter-protesters that were saying, we support the troops. Well, let me tell